Okay, we're going to move forward to item number G is the city manager's comments, updates on city operations, and we have our acting city manager, Mrs. Rose.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. We have several items to talk about this morning, and we would like to begin by providing a status of our board water advisory. Mr. Van Vleck.
Mark Van Vleck, Assistant City Manager. I think some of you have seen the maps. We've made good progress, but it's actually been a little slower than we'd hoped for. We were actually hoping that all the areas would be covered last night. We expect to be getting there later today. Once that occurs, we will be grabbing our last bacteriological samples. And so until we pass the bacteriological samples, we will remain in the boil water notice. Okay? But as soon as we see that all areas have covered and that they've been there and stable, we will go collect those samples, and then we'll update as those sample results come back.
Okay. Ms. McIntyre?
Does that mean 18 hours from when the samples are drawn?
Yes, ma'am.
So the earliest would be tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Mrs. Rose?
Yes, the next item we would like to brief you on is mosquitoes. That seems to be a very big issue right now throughout the community. A lot of emails have come through the system, and I'm sure you're receiving them also. So we have the chief here to provide a status.
Morning, Mayor and Council. Mike Markle, Police Department. I've brought Captain White, of course, with me, resident expert on mosquitoes and animal control. So yes, we have anticipated the large outbreak that you see now with the big rain events that we've had. We actually started an aggressive response plan last Friday, had to stop it due to the rains this weekend. It's all contingent on the weather and how far we can progress. But I'll let Captain White update you on the plan that we have. It's in action now, so that everybody's on the same page. I know you're all receiving a lot of questions about it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Captain Christopher White. So today, starting yesterday, actually, we started deploying our trucks in the field to larvicide the areas that we're getting high counts from mosquitoes. We started in the Flower Bluff area. We're going to work that area in the island and then continue on as we follow the mosquito count. The trucks are working extended hours if needed, as needed, to make sure that happens. And I'm hoping that by Friday we'll have covered all the city, weather permitting, that has the standing water that we have access to and that is also permittable to spray in by TCEQ standards.
Could you get us a formal report to the council members, please? And that way, what you just stated in writing, that way we can consistently be able to. Yeah, we don't have this actually on the agenda, so we just need to make sure on that questions are asked on clarifications. Ms. McIntyre?
I'm trying to decide if my question's a clarification. You can tell me, Miles, if this is not a clarification question. So we're using the live mosquito counts to determine where to put larvicide to prevent live mosquitoes from occurring.
There are multiple mosquitoes throughout the city. There are two species that we're most concerned about. The mosquitoes, the Culex species and the Adidas species. Where we're having those high counts are the areas that we're wanting to larvicide in, because those are the two mosquitoes we're most concerned about. Pest mosquitoes that don't carry arbovirus, we're not concerned about those. But we are hitting all the standing water sites that we have access to eliminate any mosquito from breeding.
Okay, so we're hitting standing water regardless of whether they're mosquitoes you care about or the mosquitoes we care about.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So how about I ask Captain White, so we don't get in any trouble, that this is not on the agenda, to give an overview of how we decide where to spray, where to larvicide, what he's looking for, the differences in the mosquitoes. There are different types of mosquitoes that are more problematic than the other. So we have you have clearly understand the way we do things, and then we will memorialize that in a document for you all to have.
Yeah, and if you can just share that also with the media, because that
Absolutely.
means the public.
We've been pushing this all out through our social media and through the city's websites. We've been pushing out updates and what we're doing. We will continue to do that. But Chris, if you can give us an overview of how you make these decisions, what your plan is moving forward, with the nuances of different mosquitoes and why we larvicide instead of just randomly spray, and the precipitation rates, winds, and all those things that have effect, that'd be great.
Sure. So when we moved to the mosquito management plan, it was based on the fact that if we spray the adulticide, which is what we've done in the past, there are specifications that have to be met for it to be efficient. One of those is that you have to have less than 30% humidity and less than 10 miles an hour of wind blowing. Otherwise, it's not effective. As soon as it's dispersed, it bonds with the moisture, the water molecules, and dissipates. And if the wind's blowing over 10 miles an hour, it disseminates it faster than it can be effective on the mosquitoes. So what we were taught is if you go out and spray a community with it under those conditions, the community is probably not even going to realize that they were sprayed. You're going to hit about maybe 1/3 of the flying insects in the area, and the people are going to come out the next day, and that 1/3 will be hatched again in the standing water, and you'll be back to where you're at. What I determined through research and contacting different agencies, especially through Florida, is if we have an aggressive larvicide program and hitting the standing water where they're hatching, then after the initial mosquitoes are hatched, the ones that are in the water will not be able to hatch, and you'll have that die off of the mosquitoes. And it's more effective because you're getting 100% kill rate in the water instead of a 3% kill rate through an aerosol spray. So that's what we're doing right now. We're deploying the vehicles to go out and larvicide the standing water and hit those, so that we're not, kind of, I don't want to say wasting our time, but not utilizing the product to the best of its ability.
Differences in mosquitoes and how
Okay. So what we're looking for when we do our mosquito count, we do it daily. As you know, there's 120 some odd mosquito species native to South Texas. There's two that we're concerned about. There's the Aedes aegypti and the Culex species. So the Aedes is the one that you're going to hear about carrying the Zika virus, and the Culex is the one that we've been monitoring for years because it carries the West Nile virus and encephalitis. So those two are the two that we're concerned about when we're collecting. As far as our samples so far, we have only collected a small sample of Culex, no Aedes aegypti, only a small sample of Culex, and those came from the area of the botanical garden area, which of course makes sense with the water standing in the river and stuff like that. So far all we've been able to catch citywide are the pest mosquitoes that nobody likes, but they're not going to carry an arborvirus that will get you sick or cause any issues. So we continue to move forward. Every Tuesday we do collect a live sample. We send that off to Austin, and that's tested for any arborvirus. They notify us within 24 hours if there is a detection of an arborvirus, and then we take action after that based on the type of arborvirus that's detected once we get the results from Austin. That's what we continue to do that, and we've done that. That's always been a standing process, and we're continuing to do that.
Okay. We have some clarifications, it appears. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Mr. Scott?
Thank you, that's what I was gonna ask. But so, are we larviciding the whole community from one end to the other, or are we doing okay, so we're larviciding citywide, but we're paying special interest where these,
Okay, so people ask me, why did I choose Flower Bluff first? Or why do I choose a certain location first? So initially I was going to start in the Cal Island area and work my way down, 5 Points area and work my way down. When my crew came in Monday morning, they said, your higher counts in Flower Bluff for pest mosquitoes. You may want to start there. And that's when I made the decision to start in Flower Bluff and work my way from there.
Excellent clarification. Thank you, Mayor. We can push that through the media because my Facebook and email was blowing up this morning. This is this is great. Thank you for an improved plan. Thank you.
So just for further clarification, the goal is Friday. If we do not meet that goal, we will work through the weekend. We will continue. Yes.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Vaughn?
I'm sorry, but by the time you get to Cal Island, the Annabelle area, they're going to be as big as small birds out there. They're horrible. He really answered my question, was the reason you started there, but I guess my thought is we're out there by the river. I mean, you can walk outside and they just cover you. I can't imagine Flower Bluff having more. I'm not calling you a liar, but when's the last time you took that count?
This morning.
Okay, well,
The counts are big everywhere. I mean, granted,
mosquitoes are
the
big,
mosquito
too.
count is is large
We
throughout the city. So
Yes,
it's
ma'am. We do our counts daily, and then they post them in the logbook, and we look at the specific species we're looking for, and that's what we.
and can you make some suggestions on what the citizens can do? Because I know we spray our own area.
Right.
Every 2 days we have to. But if you walk out past our area, they're horrid.
Sure.
So-
And we've done that through social media. And we've done that through, I did it on the news. I've made 2 or 3, Channel 6, Channel 3. We did all that. But it's the basic things, the 4 Ds. Dusk and dawn is when they're worst. Cover yourself with insect spray that has DEET. Dress appropriately. Those type of things are most important. And then also dump your water. If you have standing water in your yard, flower pots, anything that can hold water, that's where they're going to breed at. And that's what we push out to the public.
Well, I know you have a tough job, but the last thing we need right now is another problem, and mosquitoes is certainly not a good one, because to me it's a safety thing as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Mrs. Rubio?
Thank you, Mayor. For clarification, are you all putting something on the website regarding like the mosquito dunks and the mosquito bites? Have you heard about those?
Mosquito, I'm sorry, what?
The first one
Mosquito
was,
dunks.
Are you
They're like
talk-
donuts.
Yes. Okay. I understand what you're saying now. Okay. Yes. We've always had the mosquito plan, the vector plan on the city website. It's been there. I amended it last year, but it's been there this year. After this started, they wanted to push it forward. So I believe Susan Cable is going to move it up on the city website, so it's right there where everybody sees it. And then it's when you're talking about the dunks and the granules and stuff like that, yeah, we do push that out through social media and through local television that you can utilize these things in your water, and you can also buy a mineral oil product like we use to hit the standing water in your yard. So
Yeah, because I know that like where I live, as I'm leaving, there's a lot of vacant land, and it almost looks like lakes. So can a citizen go out and put stuff in there? Is that going to be okay? For clarification.
I would say no.
No.
And the reason being is that if that's private property, for us, if it's a crop or a private property, if we want to larvicide that area, we have to try to find the owner of that to get permission. If that land's, especially for a crop, and they put something like that on there, it can damage the crop or damage the soil and for future use. I would not recommend that. If they do have an area, they can call us, and we can take a look at it, and we can find out if there's a proprietor for the property that we can contact. The same thing we do for vacant homes with pools in them. We do the same thing. We find a proprietor and see if we can get in there and put the granules or the donuts in those too.
Yeah, so if you know the property owner, you can always go and ask for permission
Yes, ma'am.
from them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
and we're doing that today. As a matter of fact, we have some pools on our radar that we're code enforcement's reaching out to see if we can make contact with those folks.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. And then I have Mrs. Vaughn.
Great, thank you, Mayor. They're literally everywhere. We saw a couple just fly through here in city council chambers. Seriously, this morning, and talking about the responsibility of the homeowner too, and I'm not complaining about our streets. We all know what our streets are like, but on my personal street on Texas Avenue, I've got 4 standing water pools in front of near my house that my 150-foot hose reaches. I sprayed each one of those too. That's another thing we can do. I see your program as being more proactive than reactive, and I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. But I think the most important thing, and just for clarification, I think it's more important that the public understands what your direction is, more so than council members, because I think right now the public is experiencing mosquitoes everywhere, and we know that, you know that. But the science behind it and the fact that you're being strategic with your funding, I think, are huge steps forward. And I commend you for your work, not only with mosquitoes and vector control, but also animal control as well. I have a lot of confidence in you and your staff, but I think we need to communicate to the public that we're not taking a program away to do nothing. What we're doing is being smarter with funding and getting ahead of the issues. Now, it's tough to understand that because we've got so many mosquitoes out there, but I think the communication is the key right there. And I think it's more important that the public understands that than we do, because I think we understand the work that you've already done. I'd rather have good, adequate communication and cooperation with the media, that they get your story out there. I'm not saying that you didn't do a good job. I'm saying that the media needs to help us communicate to the public that there is a program that is actually getting more proactive than reactive. So that's my clarification. Thank you, sir.
Everybody has a caveat of clarification. Thank you, Mr. McGill. Mrs. Vaughn?
How many trucks do we have?
We have 2 trucks, ma'am.
2 trucks.
So, just for clarification, since you've got the mosquitoes really bad at Cal Island too and really bad at Flower Bluff and the island, could we not just start at each end and just meet in the middle?
It's always a possibility, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a suggestion. Just for
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn. Ms. McIntyre?
I just want to add one other thing on that. So spraying requires a special vehicle, because you have a sprayer on the vehicle.
Correct.
Does larvicide require a special vehicle?
So on the larviciding, we have a machine that we can load in the back of any pickup truck. So we have 2 trucks that we load them in. We have 2 machines. We load them in the back of the trucks, and then they're able to drive down the road and spray out the side of the truck. with
Okay,
it.
but we only have 2 machines.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, I was hopeful that it was something that could be increased.
We do have backpack sprayers. He's utilizing those also in those areas that a truck can't get to.
Okay,
For clarification also.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll make sure we get all this information out, simultaneously to the public as well. Appreciate the update. Mrs. Rose?
Just a couple of more items, Mayor and Council. One, we want to just mention the hurricane preparedness information. In the atrium, you may have seen some of the emergency management operation, the office staff there. They will be there from 10 to 3 today, and they will be providing information to citizens regarding setting up a family emergency plan or an emergency supply kit. So between 10 and 3 today, they will be there. And lastly, this Thursday at 5 p.m. at the Cooper's Alley L-Head, Peter Davison is probably smiling all the way because 118 new boat slips will be, a ribbon cutting will be held, and the public is invited.
Can you talk about the date on that?
The date is the 26th, which is this Thursday, 5 p.m. at Cooper's Alley L-Head.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose.